for me, it was just straight into weightlifting. I never had an interest for sports in such a way that I did for weightlifting. We had the option to go to the gym or to like do team netball or do this, and every single time I was like, yep, I'm gonna go to the school gym. And slowly I built it up to the point where he was like, right, okay, you're a bit strong, like you should do something with this, you know. For a woman going into weightlifting, especially like being an Indian, you know, it's gonna come with some sort of judgment. The feeling is just amazing. Like, you know, you're beating yourself every single time. And actual Olympic weightlifting started at the age of 17. So I think I literally did my first competition within 5 months. It wasn't even that long, and I had been there, and a lot of people that I was competing with had been doing weightlifting for years. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, it's going to make everything a lot harder for you to even like move forward. So it does teach you like believe in yourself, persevere, don't like give up, because you're going to have the bad days.
Welcome back to the KultureKast podcast. My guest today is a multi-sport athlete. She has won gold in the 2018 British Weightlifting Youth Championships. Welcome, Simran Virdee. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I think I'm in that routine now, so every single time that we start a podcast, the first question I ask is just what was your upbringing like? Let's take a trip down memory lane. What was baby Simran like? What was your childhood like? What was your cultural background like? All of that.
Okay, so my mom, she's from India actually, and my dad was born here. So in that sense, like I've always had two different sides and two different sort of outlooks on life regarding the way I live my life. They both see things really differently. So yeah, that's really it.
Do you think you've got like that nice little balance of like maintaining your traditional sort of views and also having that like sort of modern Western vibe?
Yeah, I think luckily, because of the way they both think, even my mom, even though that she's from India, like she still is quite open-minded, and she sort of understands the way, you know, things work in England as well. So yeah, that in that sense, I've had both sides, and yeah, I'm quite like lucky in that sense.
You're from Leeds as well, right? So like obviously we were speaking before, like obviously Birmingham, London, and things are more like up and hubs where there's more Indian people. What's it like in Leeds?
Yeah, so I think Leeds is less like that, and I feel like just based on my own judgment, there's a lot more like open-mindedness, I guess. But it might just be because of the people that I'm hanging around with, or the people that I'm around, you know. Just it is different, isn't it, down south compared to up north?
Yeah, exactly. Like we were speaking beforehand. I'm from Newcastle and it's very similar. Like the Upper community isn't massive here, but it is like quite tight knit. Like everybody knows everybody, and obviously that's a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing at times.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Definitely, you know, it always has two sides to it.
Did the people that you were hanging around with, you said like obviously you're open minded, is that were you hanging around with mainly just other Indians and things, or like have you got like a diverse friendship group? What was that like?
So I think growing up, I've always kind of been that kind of person who's like, I really want up and near friends that I can bring home and that I can, you know, that are comfortable around my parents. And I've always had that kind of fixed mindset. But recently I opened my mind and I was like, I feel like when you have diverse friendships, you experience more, you become more open-minded, and especially about experiencing, because I believe like life is, you know, about experiencing, and to have diverse friendship groups and like experience different cultures, understanding them is, you know, it's just better to be that way, in my opinion, you know.
100%. 100%. I definitely agree. Like, I think a few times I've spoke like on the podcast previously about like when you're a child and sort of growing up and you have these experiences with different like ethnicities and like a diverse experience like set, it sort of like breaks down any like preconceptions that you might have, because you're breaking them at such a young age. Does that make sense? So like obviously,
Yeah.
I think up in general have this sort of maybe stigma of like we try to tend to like stick to each other and we don't really like venture out too much, like when we're talking about maybe previous generations. But when you get
Yeah.
rid of them, like I guess, preconceived notions at such a young age, it makes you way more open-minded. Like you're way more comfortable talking to more people and sort of trying new things, which as we already said, is like that adaptability is really important for when you're going forward in life.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree. I think in my experience as well, like I went to a really diverse high school and I didn't have the best experience, not because of the diversity, it's just like unrelated, but I think that conditioned me to be like, you know what, I really want up near friends who I can bring home and who can get along with the family and stuff, just because of that experience. And that's why I became so fixed, because, you know, I feel like I had a certain experience which made me sort of close off to you know, being open-minded, I guess. And I just wanted to follow the route of like comfort, you know.
No, I think I understand that. Like, so growing up, obviously, I had like a group D and things at school up in Newcastle, very white school, and obviously, kids are gonna pick on other kids, and I got it for my group D. I also got it for being overweight as a child as well. So I think kids are naturally just gonna pick on other people, and they'll choose something, and it's very easy to like, if you're the odd one out in terms of color or weight or anything, like I don't want to like just say it's purely because of like racism, because it could be, but it could also be like the ginger kid would be getting called ginger, the guy with glasses would be called the specky one, the fat one's called the fat one. Do you know what I mean? Like all these things sort of happen, and I think when you have that bad experience, and it's potentially like going back to the other thing we were saying about open-mindedness, when you have that bad experience, it works the opposite way, where you do become very close-minded. And I had that as well, because I was very proud of my sort of background at school, and that makes you like a bit of a target sometimes as well, especially when you're one of the only ones that is from that background, and perhaps the other kids from that background assimilated a lot easier than me. So I understand that like that closed off nature is like a very comfort zone, sort of comfort blanket, I guess. But I think similar to you, the older you get, when you get into like out of the school setting where you're all forced to be around each other, and you get to things like university and like later life outside of school, it's when you sort of can choose your own friends and choose the people that you're hanging around with, and you're not like just forced into this classroom because you all got the same grade in a maths test or something. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's when it becomes a lot more open-minded.
Open-minded, 100%. Yeah, I think experiences, you know, make you a certain way, but I do think after, I guess, high school and sixth form, you do sort of start understanding yourself more, and, you know, opening your mind, or some people close their mind more, you know. It's just everyone's path, isn't it?
It's because I think it's because you actually get to hang around with people who have mutual interests. So if you're choosing your A levels, for example, or if you go to college and you're choosing whatever subjects you want to do, like you're most likely going to be talking to people who are interested in the same things as you. Whereas the whole school setup is like, you could be interested in so many different things, but you're just going to get based on like, again, like a maths test that you might do at like, or SATs. Do you remember like SATs in year 6? And then you get put into these sets afterwards, and it's like, you're all just getting based because you got the same sort of similar answers on a test, and it's like, it's not the best.
Yeah, because at that age we don't really know ourselves, and I feel like in the age of high school we are sort of, a lot of people end up being people pleasers, you know, like we're just trying to all like make friends and trying to, like, we don't know ourselves, and we're not really hanging around with people who are, you know, we're not really attracting or trying to hang around with people that are like us, because we're still finding ourselves, and we're still understanding what we like and what we are into. And that's why when people get to university, I feel like it's so much easier to make friends with people who are going to be there for a longer term sort of thing, you know.
I think it's the choice is like a massive part of that, is that you actually have a choice. Like if you don't want to speak to somebody at uni, it's very easy just not to speak to them. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to get forced 100%, into like situations.
Yeah, exactly. You choose what you want out of uni. I feel, definitely.
And you can choose like just generally more things. Like if you're stuck in, for example, Leeds, like yourself, and you're around like similar sort of people, but then you go to London for university like yourself, which is completely different sort of like backdrop or society or culture, however you want to phrase it, then you get to naturally experience so many things just from your environment as well.
So it was really different, but I needed that, and I went to London for opportunity. And to be honest, it's not what I expected. I came to London. The university that I'm at has the best weightlifting team, so for me, it was about having the opportunity and having the focus. But when I came, things changed. Like I lost my love for weightlifting, and so it was more of like a different experience for me. It was getting to know different kinds of people, finding myself. That's what the change has been like for me. It was really focused on myself when I got here, and yeah, to be honest.
So because you went to university to do sports science, it's probably a good time to actually just speak about fitness and weightlifting in general. So we'll take it back a bit from obviously before uni and when you actually first got into the gym, into lifting weights. And have you always been into like other sports and fitness and in general?
So I was never really into it like that. It was sort of, for me, it was just straight into weightlifting. I never had an interest for sports in such a way that I did for weightlifting. It was something I just sort of realized and went straight into as a kid.
What kind of age were you when you started like to get into weightlifting?
So I sort of started, I'd say, when I was 12, 13 years old. But actual Olympic weightlifting started at the age of 17. So my interest sort of stayed there for a while, but I never really took action into it until I was a little older.
So what were you doing in them like 4 or 5 years in between? Like what kind of training?
So in school, this was sort of like something which grew us more and more, was in high school. We had options when it was like physical education, we had the option to go to the gym or to like do team netball or do this. And every single time I was like, yep, I'm going to go to the school gym. And we had the teacher who was also a personal trainer, I believe. He gave me a couple of movements and, how to squat, how to deadlift. And since then, I used to go to the gym every single week. I went to the same gym and I just kept practicing the movement. And slowly, I built it up to the point where he was like, right, okay, you're a bit strong. Like, you should do something with this, you are quite strong for your age, so get on it. So yeah, that's what I was doing in those years.
Obviously you got like encouragement from school but I don't know, my school setup is different. Like we didn't have a school gym. And I think that's actually like a way better idea, because then you can sort of choose what you're interested in. Like some people don't really want to get involved in team sports. And I do think there's a benefit of team sports, but like if you do just want to concentrate like solely on yourself and you can go to the gym and use the weights there, then that's a sick idea, to be fair. But did you get like any encouragement, discouragement from lifting weights? Because obviously like from sort of Indian background and being female, that doesn't really seem like a thing that is very common.
Yeah, I did get some discouragement, but I took it seriously. Like I didn't, it can affect a lot of people, but for me, like I just I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing because that's just the way the older generation thinks. For me, it was always like the older generation sort of like, why are you doing this? Like you're gonna look too muscly. Like, you're gonna be bigger than your husband in the future, like things like that, that they'd say. But the thing is, obviously, like I said, my mum was from India. She sort of had the same opinion in a sense. She was open to it, but I know from the conversations we had that she was all like, why have you chosen weightlifting? Like, why would you choose weightlifting out of everything? Like, why? Like, I don't understand the logic behind a woman getting muscly. Like, doesn't make sense to her. So for me, I used to take everything like with a pinch of salt. But I feel like for a woman going into weightlifting, especially like being an Indian, it's gonna come with some sort of judgment.
Yeah, that is exactly the reason I asked, because it is I've heard the same things, but I don't even think it's just Indian. We hear it in general, like the wider population as well. Like, don't if you lift weights, you're gonna start becoming manly and like masculine, and because of like the excess muscle mass and things like that. And it's just like you'd have to go to like a very nth degree to start actually like looking a slightly bit more manly. It's very like far, do you know what I mean, like way down the line. Like the normal person who's in the gym getting into weights is like if a female they're not gonna look manly whatsoever. If anything, in my opinion, it actually like because of body compositions and things, you actually end up looking more womanly, because you end up getting like the muscles in the right places. I think that's the easiest way of saying like girls tend to have big booties when they work out. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the easiest way of saying that. But and it is like it becomes more womanly.
Exactly. You, like you said, you do have to do a lot for a woman to even look close to looking like a man. You know, a lot of people love saying like you're gonna look like a man. I do remember one time where I was in my friend's car and her grandma was driving us around somewhere to like some place, and she basically had said to me like, why have you chose weightlifting, like you're gonna look like a man? And I was like, whoa, the audacity.
Yeah.
You know, like we don't produce testosterone in the same way, like we'll not look like a man, you know what I mean? But yeah, everyone has their opinions and they'll just see, you know. They'll just see.
I think that perception is changing, and like usually in our like culture we will be one of the last opinions to change, but in the wider sort of society, like it is changing. Like obviously with social media, especially like with Instagram and like the amount of fitness influencers that are coming out and showing their content, and obviously there's a lot of female fitness influencers, and I think that like when you look at sort of their body compositions, you realize like actually it is really beneficial. And the thing that I find important as well is not just for like men but for women, is it makes your like, because you're putting on more muscle mass, your core becomes a lot stronger. So if anything, like it actually helps you in later life with certain things. Like in my mind, I'm specifically thinking about like pregnancy and motherhood. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're able to if you have like a strong core, it will help in that sort of time in your life. So it's like future proofing.
Yeah, 100%. It helps in so many different ways, I feel like you're saying, physically for pregnancy, it can help in, you know, mentally in the future. You can be more like persevering towards things. There's nothing bad about doing it. There's nothing bad about being into fitness, being into muscle building, you know. There's nothing bad really, you know. And you're right, the generation, like with the new generation, I feel like there's so much more of an open mind, and it's just going to keep going like that. It's just the way that they're conditioned to think, because it's not really a normal thing. It's not really a norm for them, but it's becoming a norm, so it's good.
Yeah, 100%. As I say, I think that technology sort of plays a part. Like if we go back in the day, like in India, back in the bend or whatever, like you don't have internet, you don't have social media, there's no Instagram. Like you get taught certain things, you do them, but as we have like more information at our fingertips, you get to see like a variety of different possibilities. Do you know what I mean? Like you get to see like different avenues and different interests, pick up hobbies that you might not otherwise have gotten. And I think that not just for weightlifting, but for everything in general. Like there might be a kid who there's gamers, like people get into gaming, like people get into art, people get into all sorts of little hobbies because they have like more information at their fingertips. And fitness is probably one of the best ones to get into, because as you say, it's not only physical health but also like mental health as well.
I agree. Yeah, it is something that has so many benefits for everyone, you know.
We covered like the sort of stigmas and things, but we also covered like you got encouragement from your school and your personal trainer at school, and then you started getting like really strong in certain lifts. So did you always just want to do it purely on a performance side of things? Was it like I want to look a certain way?
I think in the beginning it was more about like, I don't know, I had a passion, and it wasn't really so much about looking a certain way as like the actual sport is more about getting the weight up. And I think through those years, as I kept increasing my PB, I sort of realized like the feeling is just amazing. Like, you know, you're beating yourself every single time, and you've got higher, you've got better. And I think it's like a feeling of, you know, build on your self-esteem for me. So yeah, that's what I think it really grew during that time.
Yeah, it is really important. I've said it on the podcast before, like, is in like when children and when you're like young and you sort of are able to overcome barriers, like in sports, especially like physical barriers. If you think that you can't lift the X amount of weight, but then you end up lifting it, it's sort of like, again, it goes back to the open-mindedness, and you sort of are able to overcome obstacles easier in the future as like life goes on, because that them sort of mental blockades aren't in your mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It teaches you perseverance. It teaches you, like, a lot of sports. I think like every single sport is about your mindset mostly as well. It's about like how much you believe in yourself, how much, you know, because your mind can stop you from even achieving any PBs. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, it's going to make everything a lot harder for you to even like move forward. So it does teach you like believe in yourself, persevere, don't like give up, because you're going to have the bad days, and you can apply that anywhere in your life, which is just like such a good thing about sports, I think, personally.
100%. Like personally, talking is that I got into like weightlifting quite relatively late, I would say, like maybe 17, 18, around that time. As I say, I was quite a larger child when I was growing up. So the first thing I did when I was getting into the gym was just like cardio for the first like year. But then when I started getting into like actual weightlifting, what I found was that like when I got to certain weights, that like mentally, like I could probably physically lift the weight, but in my mind, like something would stop me. It would become like a bit too daunting. So like a good example I use is when I lifted 200 kilograms for the first time, like a deadlift. For weeks I could do it as like rack squats for reps and reps and reps or whatever, and I could do 195 for reps on deadlifts, but 200, because it's that nice round number, I just couldn't do. But it was the same when I did 100 for the first time, just because it's that big round number, and in my head it seems bigger than it is. But when you overcome that, you realize like it's just another weight.
Exactly. When you like clear the blockage in your mind, because I've had several instances like that as well during weightlifting, where, you know, it's a certain number, and I keep saying to myself like, no way, I'm actually lifting this right now. Like, are you sure I can do this? Are you sure? And it's that doubting, which, you know, it stems from something, and once you've overcome that, you know, it's the best feeling, which is it's great feeling.
Yeah, 100%. It helps, like, obviously physically, but I think, as we keep on saying, it is a really good mental thing. Like, and it translates to other things in life, as we talked about. But I feel like it's one of them things where just generally, like, you find that you sort of make things a lot bigger in your mind, which are the same. They'll be the same size in real life, but in your mind, you just, when you're thinking about it more and more, that thing just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. By the time you actually get to it, you've created like this sort of monster or this giant in your mind that, like, it's like that David and Goliath mentally, whereas in reality, it's like it's not that deep. Do you know what I mean? That was something for me that I took a while to overcome.
That's so true, and it took me a while too. It's all like a progress and process. But like, you know, I think when people overthink, then it becomes a big thing in your mind. And yeah, like, you just gotta see it for what it is sometimes. Like, this is the way, this is what I'm gonna, like, I'm just gonna put it up, and I'm gonna clean and jerk it, and that's it. I'm not gonna overthink about how much it is, like what will go wrong, because essentially when you put that into your mind, then things may go wrong because you're doubting it. And yeah, you've just got to have that faith. And yeah, that's what I found as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you create something like massive. It's the best way is just to do it and sort of live in the moment, and then afterwards maybe like reflect on what you could do better, but don't really dwell on it beforehand. And I feel like that's with most things. Like, if you're going in for an interview, if you're going in for an exam, like my exam pressure before I started like doing weightlifting and post weightlifting was completely different. Like, when I was going into my GCSEs and things, I'd had like so much pressure on myself because I'm building all these things up in my mind. And then after I sort of got into weightlifting and sort of my mentality shift because of what we're talking about so far, and when I got into uni, like my exam sort of like pressure like just disappeared. I just got in there, didn't really think about it too much, and know I've done the preparation work, and you could just blitz out your exams. And that sort of mindset switch is so important. And I, like, obviously, like, my results reflected that. Like, my results got so much better in uni than beforehand, and I accredit that to weight training and like overcoming these mental barriers. That's why when I talk about sports and kids, it could sound a bit hypocritical because I wasn't very sporty as a kid, but I wish I was. Do you know what I mean? Because of the importance that I found later on in life. Like I did like do football and things, but I wasn't very like serious of that. But when I got into weightlifting and that mindset shift happens, you realize like the importance of it, and you wish that like I could have done it a bit earlier.
Yeah, I literally think the same thing. And I know when I have children myself, like one of the things I'm definitely going to put them in is a sport, whatever they want to do. But a sport is something that you like, you know, especially when you're aiming towards a competition or something, or even like aiming towards, you know, beating your own PBs, for example, during like in weightlifting and stuff. It's really good for your mind, like disciplining yourself. It's good for understanding how your mind works and becoming more aware of like the way you think, and you know, if you doubt yourself, if you don't have faith, to work on that. And I think, like you said, like I wish I also was in it from young, because you know, it just wires you differently, and it does get you ready for a lot of things. Like a lot of sports people who have started from young, you can see how they're different. And even me, I have different conversations with people who do sports compared to people who don't. And it's because they have a different way of thinking. You know, they put their all into it, and they try their best, and that's why they are where they are. You know. So, yeah.
No, definitely. I agree. Like the reason I keep on saying it with kids is because the minds are so malleable. Do you know what I mean? They're very adaptable. But when you get to like a certain age, you become naturally more close-minded. And as we've already spoken about, of like generational shifts and things like that. But that's why like it's so important to do it early, because then, as we've already alluded to, the mental sort of barriers are just blown out the water, and that's like a lasting effect. Like as you say, it rewires that brain. Like the mental barriers are just blown away, and that is part of that rewiring. So when you talk to people who do sports and things from a young age, it's not just like the way they think, but it's also like a confidence. There's a big confidence boost of knowing like every day that you work out, if you work out in the morning, the rest of your day you know is going to be good because you've already accomplished something in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Like you've already achieved something really good. It's like the thing. Have you seen that video of like the Navy SEAL? I think he gives like a speech, and he's like, the first thing you should do in the morning is make your bed, because as soon as that first task is done, then you can start doing other tasks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, making your bed is the most important thing in the morning. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. When did you start like obviously you said your personal trainer at like school, or one of your PE teachers, was really encouraging, and then when you got to a certain point, you said that you're strong. When from that point did you start to think about like doing competitions and things?
So when I was in school, it was all about like me just going to the gym and doing like, literally I used to do deadlift every single time. I used to try and beat my deadlift. And I remember getting, I think it was like 110 kilos when I was around like 14 years old. And that's when I was just thinking like,
big flex.
You know what? I need to do something with this. Yep, big flex. I was just thinking like, you know, I can put something into like, I can put myself into something where I can actually achieve great, because I know I've got that natural like muscular, you know, I'm actually naturally quite strong. So it was that point where I just said to my dad, I was like, you know, just like introduce me to some things. I want to get into something. So he introduces me to CrossFit, which I think a lot of people have opinions on. But yeah, so he introduced me to CrossFit, and I go there, and I was like, not for me, too much cardio. I didn't like cardio at all at that point. So then I sort of just thought, let me just do my own thing. And I joined the gym, and I just did my own thing, kept building, tried to teach myself how to squat properly, and just from what I could like learn myself. And then actually getting into weightlifting was when I was around 17. So my dad, I said to my dad, like, can you teach me how to squat properly, like correct form, deep squat, astergrass. I want to know the right way to do it. And he was like, you know what? Yeah, I can try, but like, I don't want to teach you wrong. So let me actually get you somewhere where you can learn how to do all these movements that you want to do properly. So my dad takes me to another CrossFit gym that had like a weightlifting section. And I see the CrossFit gym. I have a look there for a sec. I go into the next room, see the weightlifting gym. I was like, yep, I'm here. This is where I want to be. So yeah, that's when I actually got into it. And straight away, I was on the mind of competing, even though like it is sort of, obviously it's like, it's a whole new sport, you know, there was a lot to learn, but straight away, as soon as I joined it, just something inside me was like, yep, I want to compete in this and I want to aim towards a competition soon. So I think I literally did my first competition within 5 months. So yeah, wow. It was quite a quick journey. Yeah.
Yeah, as you say, like a lot of people have strong opinions on CrossFit, and I actually quite like it, to be honest. Like going into it, I've sort of dabbled in like the three of bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit. That's like so like going into the gym, obviously, as I say, I was quite chubby. So the first thing I did was sort of the bodybuilding side of things, like to get a bit more lean and lose the excess like sort of fat and things. But when I was doing that, I realized similar. I think genetically, like Indians are actually quite strong, like especially like Punjabi Sikhs and things. We've got that farming background sort of thing, so we are quite like what they say even over here, farmer strength. Do you know what I mean? We are quite naturally strong.
Yeah.
So when I'm getting into like sort of quote unquote bodybuilding to lose weight, I realized that I'm getting all these beginner gains, like my lifts are going up really nicely, and then I sort of transitioned into, I guess, powerlifting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that in like I got ridiculous numbers or anything. Like my numbers were okay, but it was very much like I was focused on squat, deadlift, bench, and just sort of trying to like progress that. And then as we spoke about before, one of my mates that got me into fitness and that I trained with a lot was Adam Collard, and because he was like aiming to become like a personal trainer and taking fitness more seriously, I ended up basically being sort of like a guinea pig, I guess. Anything that he would learn new, I would get like quote unquote tested on, because we would end up just training together. So whatever he's trying new, I would try new, and then he would see like, oh, this is a good workout because I'm on the floor crying. So do you know what I mean? Like things like that. And he got a lot into CrossFit, especially when he opened his own gym. And so I used to train at his gym like a lot and doing like the sort of CrossFit workouts. But going back to the chubby kid, I realized that like the endurance and the CrossFit sort of side of thing is something that I really needed. But over time, I think my training's definitely like just gradually sort of changed to now at a point where I'm just focused on what gives me the most energy for the rest of like the day and for like my like lifestyle, I guess, in quotation marks. But I think there's a benefit to everything. I feel like a lot of people going back to that closed-mindedness sort of fall into one of them categories and then just like shit on the other ones because they're like, oh no, like bodybuilders and shit on like powerlifters and say, well, what's the point in lifting this much weight because you don't look like you can lift it. Who cares how much I can bench as long as my chest is ripped? And then powerlifters will say to bodybuilders, who cares if you look good because you can't lift well? And then CrossFit people are saying, okay, but are you out of breath when you go up the stairs? And do you know what I mean? Like they all sort of just get competitive, whereas I feel like there is a lot of benefits of sort of having like a well-rounded program.
Yeah, you know, you said it right there, because I myself have been guilty of that. So like when I did weightlifting, I was like, CrossFit is just a bit weird. I was like, you know, there's too much cardio, like you're just gonna hurt yourself kind of thing, because it's just repetitive. And then I also looked at bodybuilding and I was like, which I don't anymore. This was like my perspective a long time ago, but I looked at bodybuilders and I was like, well, I don't understand why you're doing that as well. Like, you're just looking good. Is there anything that like, it's just about looking good? There's not, in my head, I just thought like, I didn't really understand it. But now I'm open to everything. Like myself, I'm even looking into bodybuilding at the moment. So, you know, everyone has that switch in mindset, I guess, you know, especially like with CrossFit, like I was saying, a lot of people do think it's bad, but at the same time, it is like the people that do CrossFit are crazily fit. How can you even say that it's something bad? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so good. Look at them. They're than people who do weightlifting, powerlifting, bodybuilding. Like, they are all rounders, you know, in weights and in cardio. And yeah, you can't really say much about it.
No, 100%. Like, obviously, it's similarly, when I was looking at the other ones, when I was stuck in one, I was very reluctant to get into it at first. Like when I was doing the sort of quote unquote bodybuilding, when I was trying to get a bit more lean, I was like, well, I'm not really bothered about like how much I lift. I'm just asked about how I look, being like the chubby kid. I just didn't want to be chubby anymore. So that was like the main priority. But then when I started getting into lifting heavier weights and the endorphins that releases and how like good that makes you feel, and then I sort of transitioned into that. I thought CrossFit was going to be the last thing because my cardio has always been terrible. But as he started making programs that were sort of more fun for his, by this point when he had his own gym established, obviously he was way more like he had more experience of like personal training in general. So as he was making like more programs that were more fun for his clients, I guess, and getting the work done, that's sort of when I came in and training with him and stuff, and realized that actually, you know what, this is one, it's fun. So the workout is a lot easier, and two, like my endurance is getting like crazy better. Like I might not look as strong, I might not look as lean, but I can actually go about my day and do tasks with more ease than I would normally do them with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's that thing when you go through all these like when all these perceptions are sort of broken down and your preconceived notions are abolished, I guess it makes you way more open-minded when you're going to stuff in the future. When did you start competing? When you started competing, did you compete in powerlifting? Because already you've said that you were focused on your deadlift and your squat, but the video that I seen online is more like Olympic lifting. So did you start in powerlifting, then transition over, or was it just straight into like Olympic style?
So I think like during those years between when I was like 14 to 17, it was literally squat, bench, deadlift kind of vibe. So it was powerlifting, I guess. And because those movements are a lot easier for someone to learn themselves. And I never really understood like Olympic lifting or clean and jerk, snatch, the two lifts in Olympic lifting. Like they just look so crazy to me. I didn't even know much about it until I actually went to the weightlifting gym, and I was like, this looks so cool and so challenging. Like, I want to try it. So yeah, it was just competing wise, Olympic lifting. But yeah, otherwise, like I pretty much taught myself powerlifting movements pretty well. And then everything, like, I think that's why I was like able to quickly develop my kind of technique in weightlifting, because I already had a good squat and I had like a good deadlift, and all of it, you know, can come across in weightlifting. So that's why like competing was a quick process in the start compared to how I would have thought it would have been. I already had quite a bit of muscle and technique. So yeah.
So was your first competition powerlifting?
No, my first competition has always been like, I've never done any powerlifting competitions,
Right.
just Olympic weightlifting. I just used to like train powerlifting movements in the gym before I actually started Olympic weightlifting. And yeah.
Do you still do that to supplement your Olympic weightlifting training?
There is sort of movements in the training plan, which are similar. For example, like deadlifts are obviously used in the clean and jerk, but they are tailored to Olympic weightlifting. So certain movements are done in a different way for weightlifting. So yeah, I don't really use a lot of powerlifting movements anymore. Like bench, don't do ever really.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't really need that, do you?
No.
I quite like just observing different sort of methods of training, as I've already sort of alluded to. And it is like interesting to see all the different sort of styles, like because in lockdown, like I've started to do a lot more. It's not really Olympic lifting because it's with kettlebells, because that's the only like equipment that I have at home. But like a lot of kettlebell movements are like cleans and snatches and things like that. And
Yeah.
I have this book by I can't say his last name. It's like Pavel Tatsulini, and he's like the goat of like kettlebell training. He's Russian, but his surname sounds Italian. It's very confusing. But he's like the goat of like kettlebell training, and it's really like simple and interesting. And again, that's something completely new to me. Is literally just because I was able to get a kettlebell at the beginning of the first lockdown. So all of this dumbbell, barbell, weight train, I'd never touched, like relatively, I've never really touched kettlebells up until that point. But you get forced into a situation and you learn to like adapt, and then you learn the importance of certain movements and things like that.
Yeah, it's the same story for me. Like, obviously, when it came to lockdown and stuff, I didn't even have a bar or anything. So I had to make do with kettlebells as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been the same thing, kettlebell workouts, like adapting, doing the clean and jerk with a kettlebell. It's so different, but you got to adapt, isn't it?
I actually enjoy it a bit more with kettlebells because it's like it accommodates your shoulder, I feel like, a lot better. Like it doesn't really compromise your shoulder in an awkward position, whereas like a barbell does, because it's like that like flexibility. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, because the barbell is obviously a straight line and you don't get that sort of the movement. You've got to go with the barbell, whereas with the kettlebell, there's movement because it's free. It's like a one weight thing. I know what you mean. It's different working out with a kettlebell. It's good. It's different, and it's good to try new things as well. So even this whole journey of kettlebell training through lockdown has been a good experience as well. Yeah.
What kind of like, do you do circuits or do you do like set movements or with kettlebells?
So I didn't do too much, but when I was like in first lockdown, when I did move back to Leeds, I had all my kettlebells there, and I just it'd mostly just be kettlebell swings, kettlebell clean and press, squats, anything that you can do with a bar, I would try and do with a kettlebell. So like even lunges, pretty much everything. And I had pretty like heavy weights. So yeah, it was good. And I was lucky to have that because not everyone has weights during that lockdown. I know it was a difficult time for a lot of people, even now still in the lockdown. But, I feel like it has also challenged a lot of people to come out of their comfort zone and the way they usually train and try new things. So yeah, that's what I did and made do with the kettlebells, I guess.
100%. You get more creative. Like that's what I enjoy is sort of that creativity side of things. Like obviously kettlebells is something that was completely new to me, but also like banded workouts. I had bands previously, but I mainly used them for like stretching. And now like obviously I sort of adapted it to actually training certain body parts. It's hard to train back, I feel like, with like a kettlebell. Other than rows, you can't really do much. But if you have like a band, you can put it like on top of a door and sort of do like lat pull downs and maybe like back extensions if you like stand on it and like put it behind your neck and like sort of do like sort of back extension deadlift sort of things.
Yeah, definitely. I think bands is something that has helped a lot of people. Even me, like before, I never used bands in my life, and I used to be one of those people who were like, obviously, I used to do like squats and heavier weights. So when I used to look at bands, I was like, why are people doing bands? I don't understand. I had like a really fixed way of thinking, but this lockdown has opened my eyes to bands because recently bands have been like the way forward for me, and I actually see gains from just using bands every day. And you can do so much with them as well, like you're saying, you can do like pull downs. So it's good that we have resistant bands in our life, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Again, goes back to the thing we were saying before. Like you become like sort of reluctant to try something new when you see like a different type of workout, but when you try it yourself, you realize it's so beneficial. I was gonna say also you've been trying out. I think I don't pronounce this right. Calisthenics. Is that how you say it?
It's calisthenics.
Calisthenics. Okay.
A lot of people actually pronounce it like that, calisthenics. But yeah, calisthenics. The body weight training.
What got you into that?
So obviously, like in the CrossFit gym that I used to be in, my actual weightlifting coach, he did calisthenics only, and so I used to see him all the time, and I just used to think in my head like that stuff is crazy. Like he's hella ripped, and the movements that you can do, like even though I was doing weightlifting, anytime I tried the movement, I'd be like, what? Like I can't even do the movement. It requires so much strength of like your core and every little part of your body that I didn't even know existed. Because in weightlifting it's so like compound. And but then, so in the back of my head, it was always really intriguing to me, but I never really went forward to do it until literally last week.
Okay. Very
so
fresh.
yeah, during this time I can't train. Yeah, very fresh. Just last week, I've literally done my second session a couple of days ago, and yeah, I couldn't feel my arms. The DOMs were just another level, worse than any DOMs I've ever had weightlifting. Like, no matter how much I've squatted, no matter how much I've snatched, this was just different. So yeah, very fresh new journey for me.
I think that normally does happen when you try something new, isn't it? It's because your body's so accustomed to like a certain movement, so that when you try something new, like the pain is just unreal. You figure out that you're not using certain muscles, and then their muscles get like sort of activated.
Yeah, definitely. It's about your body like understanding the new movements. It always is about that, because like even when I first did the session, we did the movement called skinning the cat, I believe, or skinning the cat. I don't know why, but so the movement was like you're on the rings and you're going upside down, and then you're coming back round. And for me, like I am really like I have a slight fear of going upside down. So yeah, like for a while it was just my body getting used to it, and then as soon as it did, and it understood, and it put two and two together, then it was fine, it was easy. And then it's all about like actually using the right muscles, which cause these DOMs. It's been like 3 days and I still feel them. Crazy.
Yeah, and I think I see that's the one that I think I seen on your Insta. That's why I quickly wrote it down and was like, oh, I'll ask about that because it is interesting. Like I'm not very much into it myself, but it does look very interesting. It looks hard.
Yeah, it is very hard. I feel like for me it was shocking because I'm obviously like I do have like strength there from weightlifting when I did do it before, but like this was just so surprising that I couldn't do a lot of the movements, or because it is body weight, but at the same time, like no matter how strong you are, if you go into body weight from not doing it before, it is a bit of a shocker. You're like, oh, okay. So I can't really do these movements as much as I thought I might be able to. But yeah, it's good. It's a challenge.
Is that do you feel like because you're doing body weight and it is engaging that core and you're becoming more like, I guess it works on stability as well. Like, do you think that really helps your Olympic lifting?
Yeah, I think when I do go back to Olympic lifting, it's something that can only help because like core wise and even shoulders wise, stability is definitely something that's improved through calisthenics. And I think it will help me a lot when I do go back to it in the future. Yeah, let's see though. I'm hoping to I do want to excel in calisthenics as well, even though it's so fresh. I just have a good feeling about it. I want to be able to be an all-rounder. You know what I mean? Like I can do the weight training side of it, and I can do the body weight movements as well. And yeah, so I'd like to be an all-rounder.
Yeah, no, that's as we were talking about so far. I think that is the best way to go. Going back to competing, so obviously in the introduction, I mentioned that you won the gold medal in the 2018 British weightlifting youth championships. It's a mouthful. They might want to use an acronym next time. So how long was it since your first sort of competition up until that point, and how does that process even go? Like, do you have to win X amount? Do you have to place really highly in X amount and then you get into like some sort of leaderboard ranking, or is it at a competition somebody comes and like sort of quote unquote scouts you? Like how does that whole setup work?
So with weightlifting, in the start, my first ever competition was a qualifier. So obviously I choose a weight category that I want to rest at and that I want to compete in. And at the time, mine was 63 kilos. So I would be competing and aiming towards the qualifying amount for the 63 kilo category, which would be lower than any higher, for example, the bigger the weight goes in the categories, the higher the qualifying amount. So I would have to hit, for example, a total of 120 kilos between my snatch and clean and jerk in order to qualify for the next competition, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so it was my choice how I want to split that. I could be like an 80 clean and jerk and a 40 snatch. Yeah, that makes 120. yeah. So it's up to me how I would like to split that, but as long as I make that in the end, then I've qualified. And yeah.
I'm assuming that you qualified then. You got the 120 kg and then moved on to the next sort of round.
Yeah, so I qualified for then. Sorry, I'm gonna have to trace back a little bit. So I think I qualified in all the competitions I did for the category that I was in. And in order to get onto the next one, obviously you have to qualify. And so then I think for the first one, I did make it, and then I changed my weight category at one point to 69. So then I did have to qualify for that as well. So it was, for me, some of the competitions were just like qualify, and then for the next level, so there's like 3 tiers. For the next tier, you have to obviously just hit the weight, get to the next tier, and then after that, to get to the next tier after that, you have to qualify again. So that's how it works with weightlifting. And obviously tier 1 is like national level, and that's what I was aiming to in the end, and that's what my last competition has been, the national, that I achieved the gold in. And yeah, so
when you're going like up in these competitions and like qualifying for the next one, does that qualifying weight increase? So like, for example, your first competition you said was like you think you were 62 kilograms, and then you have to qualify at like 120 kg. In the next round, does that 120 kg increase to like 125 and then 130 to sort of make it harder and harder to progress? Is that how that like system works? Or
no, to be honest, it's the same for every category, but I think it's like within categories there are subcategories. So there's like under 17s, under 15s, things like that. So as you like get older, and for example, if you want to compete in the under 17s, or you want to compete in, like, dependent on the competition and depending on what you are feeling to compete in, the numbers will change. So when I did get older, I had to qualify again. Obviously, when I first started, it was okay. But then when I got to the age of like 18, then I had to qualify again. And yeah, so that's how it really works. Yeah.
How did you feel in your first like competition? Was there like nerves? Was the excitement? Like, what was that feeling like?
You know what? I've never been too much of a nervous person, in the sense that like I never felt so nervous, like, oh my gosh, I'm really nervous. But the thing is, I couldn't sleep the night before, so I think I'm lying there.
Yeah.
It was more of like an excitement, I think. Excitement, and like it was I guess it was nerves, but it wasn't in the sense where I was scared. I was like, yep, it's gonna go well, I'm gonna do good, like it's an experience. But I think I was really excited. So the night before, I could never sleep. Any of my competitions was always like an all-nighter before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like when you won the gold in that like British Youth Championship?
That was a really good feeling, and it was nice because that was the last competition I've done. It's been a while, but yeah, it was an amazing feeling, like to know that I had got to there in this space of time. Like it wasn't even that long, and I had been there, and a lot of people that I was competing with had been doing weightlifting for years, and I was, I had made it, kind of thing, like for myself.
Sort of
So
flex.
it was a really good feeling. Yeah.
Sort of flex. Oh, it took them ages. I just did it in a couple of years, me.
Yeah, literally, I was really gassed to myself, but then I stopped. So
did you find that like after that you got like a lot of support from quote unquote the community? Because that's one of the first things that I found you on, was that basically that post of you winning the championships. I think it was like shared around on some of the like Seek Fitness pages. I think like Seek Muscle, Fitness Forge, them kind of pages. You feel like that you got like a lot of support from the up on our fitness community?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, yeah, I got a lot of, and a lot of people were like, whoa, okay. And I think that's when I like sort of got recognized a little bit more for doing weightlifting, and because it was a bigger achievement compared to all the other competitions that I had done. It was like, okay, yeah, like she's done the nationals, and yes, she's got a gold in it, she's done well. So it was really nice to see.
That's good. Like we were saying before, that community is very, very, very tight knit. And I think like when you see somebody smashing it in whichever field it is, like normally up and they do support up on it, which is really nice to see, which is because it's not always the case, is it? Like some people go the opposite and like quote unquote nuzzard and evil eye is a thing. So it's nice to see when people get like behind achievements and sort of like support each other in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. There's always the nuzzard there as well, though, regardless. But you know, it's good to have such a big tight-knit community, you know, because like I've always had support and always had people encouraging, and I've never really had too much of a bad experience. I know that people probably do think, you know, like we were saying earlier, you know, different generations might just have different ideas about it. But luckily, like the older generation people in my family, my grandparents and stuff, they were so good with it, and they always encouraged me, and I got encouragement from everyone, family, friends. Yeah, it's good.
That's really good. Sort of like transitioning into your nutrition now, because not only are you a female powerlifter who's Indian, which is already breaking sort of one stereotype, not powerlifter, sorry, Olympic weightlifter in that sort of category, but not only is that breaking one sort of stereotype, but you don't eat meat, you're vegan, you're plant-based, so that's breaking another stereotype.
Yep, that was actually something that happened recently. So after I actually kind of had to take a break from weightlifting because of COVID, that's when I made the decision to go vegan. But even then, I don't say I'm like completely vegan. I'm plant-based-ish. So like I'm a little bit lenient on dairy. Like anything else, meat.
Hold up. I think you need to update your Instagram bio or something, because I'm pretty sure that it just says vegan.
Check it because it says plant-based-ish.
Does it?
Have a look. Yeah, I changed it up because I was like, I'm gonna be real with everyone. Like I'm trying, but there's some times where I do give into like dairy, definitely like chocolate and stuff.
I've just checked it. Yeah, fair play. I dropped the boat. I'll put my hands up. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
How's that transition?
Yeah, so I changed it. I had to do it. You know what? It was really weird. Like I obviously went from a lot of meat. I never used to really take protein supplements. Like when I was in competing, I used to take all my protein from my foods, and I just really believed that like there's no point taking protein as an extra supplement. Let me just eat a lot of meat. Let me eat a lot of fish, eggs. I used to eat like 6 eggs a day. But then I don't know what happened. There was just a switch in me. I think it's the people that are around me at the moment. A lot of them are plant-based or vegetarian, and I kind of looked into it a little bit more, and it just resonated with me. And I thought I can make the switch, and if I really want it, I can still build muscle. I can still make it happen, because like if you really want something, you can make it happen, and you can.
Okay.
A lot of people have ideas.
Explain it to me.
So like, you know, a lot of people have this preconception about veganism and stuff, but firstly, you can get hemp protein. So if you're not getting enough from your diet, there's still protein powder that you can have out there, which I take now.
But what about your belief of getting it from your food? Because when you were eating meat, you didn't have to have any supplements.
Okay, obviously, like there is going to be less protein available for me to be having, but think about it. Chickens, we eat like, okay, people eat chicken, not we, because I don't, but people eat chicken, and chickens eat what, grass, or like, I don't know what they eat, some plants. They don't eat like meat in it, they eat plants. And so they're getting, or even take any animal, cows, they eat grass.
So basically you watch Game Changers and then turn vegan, because that's the exact argument that's a Game Changers.
I watched Game Changers and I was like, nah, don't believe it. I'm going to keep eating meat. Because when I actually watched it, I was so into meat then. And I was like, yeah, no. I used to literally shut down vegans the same way you're thinking in your head right now.
No, I'm not shutting you down. To be fair, like, as I say, I've spoke to Azad and he's a vegan personal trainer. I've spoke to Indaraj and he won the gold in Commonwealth and he's vegetarian. I have nothing against it. I've flexed about with eating meat, not eating meat. I find that when I'm not eating meat, I actually feel like a lot more energetic and things. I'm not opposed to it whatsoever. My problem with specifically Game Changers is, and I've said this to both of them, is that, and they both agreed with me, even though they're both like vegetarians and don't eat meat, is that is a very, it literally reeks of like a commercial. Do you know what I mean? Like an American commercial. It seems like it's basically like turn vegan today and you can win a free holiday or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of them type of situations, which I didn't like. But no, I have nothing against like being vegan or vegetarian or anything. I've tried it a few times and I enjoy my time on it, but I end up just switching back and forth. I feel like it is good to be off meat for a certain amount of time, let your body sort of recover from all that processing, and then if you want to go back on. But no, so I'm not saying like, oh, I'm fully against vegans or shooting them down or anything like that.
Well, I used to do the same thing, so I don't blame anyone that thinks that way, because I used to think like, you know, meat tastes so good and everything, like it's just so good. How can I give it up? One time I remember like back in the sixth form, me and my friend went to Nando's, but on the same day I was like, yep, I'm going vegan. I'm gonna go flat out vegan. I'm one of those people, like if I'm gonna go vegan, I'm going flat out. I'm not gonna cut it down. Like I'm just gonna go. So
you're not gonna be
yeah,
ish.
I was saying to her like, I'm going vegan today, and yeah, I'm not gonna be about that. But in that time, I literally said like, I'm gonna go vegan, and the same day we went to Nando's and I had half a chicken. Like I didn't understand how you can give up chicken. But yeah, like then I realized, like personally for me, which I think a lot of people that are vegan or vegetarian can probably relate to, like it's not worth it. The 2 seconds of taste and temporary happiness, like, and pleasure, it's not worth it. Like it's a whole animal, you know, suffering for your happiness. And that's just what it is, you know. People just can't face that. But yeah, that's like a big reason why I guess I thought like it's really not worth it.
So you switch more for the like ethics and the morality more than the nutrition?
Well, I'm actually not gonna lie, it was mostly for nutrition, but at the same time, like that argument never made like sense to me. I've always still think back, if I ever thought of going back to meat for the protein or anything, which I've had recently because I'm on a bodybuilding diet at the moment. If I ever had an inkling thinking like, let me go back to eating fish or meat, then yeah, my opinion would just like, it just change again, and I'll just be like, nah, because it's not worth it, and I can still get the same protein from plant food. Like none of my muscle has dropped. If anything, I've gotten way more leaner ever since I've been vegan, and my PBs have stayed exactly the same, if not like grown. Do you know what I mean? Even gyms have not been open. Every time I go back to the gym, like my PBs are still the same. I've not lost any muscle. So for me, like it's been good. I've got a lot more energy. Not trying to sell the veganism to anyone, but like, yeah, it's good.
No, you've made a convincing argument. You've made a convincing. I believe you. Okay, you haven't converted me, but I believe you.
Maybe one day, you know.
No, I don't think I could ever do it full time. Like I'd say, I'd take breaks off eating meat. I wouldn't even say like regularly, but maybe like every few months, perhaps. And it's it's like a nice little reset, but I always end up just going back to it. It is like used as a break. It's not ever. I don't think for me personally, it's ever going to become like a lifestyle change or any of that malarkey. Like I was going to ask, what do you use for? You sort of mentioned it there. Like obviously you can use like vegan protein and thing, but what other like supplements do you use? Like do you supplement with any vitamins? Do you supplement with obviously protein and what else do you supplement with?
I supplement with, at the moment, I've never really taken supplements like that, but the only thing that at the moment that I am taking is Irish moss, which is like it's a natural supplement really, but it contains all the vitamins and minerals, like 92 out of 102 that your body needs. So at the moment, I'm just using that because there's no point me taking an isolated vitamin C when I can take all the vitamins in one supplement, you know what I mean? So that's all I use. But other than that, like I eat so many greens anyway, and I believe like that's why I've never really supplemented, because you can get it from your diet and everything's there in the diet. Obviously, when going vegan, there's something that you might lack, which is why I take Irish sea moss. But otherwise, yeah, not really any other supplements.
What is the crack with this Irish sea moss? Because I've seen that obviously on Instagram you have another page of holistic jungle. So what prompted you to make that sort of page and focus on this Irish sea moss?
So as I got more into like a conscious style of living for my health and things like that, like when I went to veganism and then like the alkaline diet, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Sebi.
I haven't.
No? Okay, so like I follow him quite a lot, and he basically, I'd say he like discovered Irish sea moss and the benefits of it, and he's spread, like when he was alive he did spread a lot on it, and that's where I sort of found out about it. I was reading up about it a lot, and I bought some myself, and when I bought it and I tried it, I was like, wow, like this has helped me so much. And the fact that it helped me is the reason why I thought, let me actually make this and sell this myself, because it can help other people too. Help me in so many different ways. For example, like I actually had a lot of eczema, and I do suffer with like acne as well. And a lot of it cleared while using sea moss. And for me, like I've never really believed in things like using things like chemical stuff. I've always used natural stuff, and this has helped me just by taking it every single day. It helped my skin, it helped my energy. And then on top of that, I know that I'm taking in those vitamins and minerals every day. Like it's just an all-rounding supplement to use, really. And I started selling it. Well, I'm going to be selling it soon to people, because I know it will help people just like it helped me. So yeah, that's the whole kind of motive behind it.
No, that's sick. That's sick. I was gonna say you can't even tell that you like have eczema or acne and things like, you know, on your Instagram or even on this call now, because your skin is very clear, and that's coming from someone who also does have eczema. So well done for that. I'll have to look into it. How do you sort of like take it then? So do you like extract it and put it in pill form, or do you have it like as with your food or something? Like how do you ingest it?
So with Irish sea moss, there's like, I'd say many ways you can take it. It's all up to the person, but I personally take it like every day. You take 2 tablespoons. So for me, like I obviously import it fresh as the dried moss from St. Lucia, and then soak it, clean it up, and then gel it. So turn it into gel form by blending it. And then I just take it like twice a day. Sorry, not twice a day, once a day, 2 tablespoons every day. And then on top of that, what I did for my skin was just apply it as a face mask. So you can literally apply it to your skin, your hair. You can eat it every day. So, and you can do all 3, because like as long as you don't exceed 2 tablespoons a day, it's healthy for you. Otherwise, there is a lot of iodine in it, so it can like affect you if you take more than 2 tablespoons. But for me, like putting it on my skin literally just cured my eczema this winter, because every single winter I suffer from eczema on my arms and on like around my eyes. And this year I never got it, which is the first year in like how many years of my life that I've never had, like not had to deal with eczema this winter. And it's just been so good, like not having to deal with that, just because I've been taking the sea moss, and I know a lot of people around me that do also deal with eczema. So yeah, it's a great supplement. Anyone should take it, literally.
It's that dry heat in the winter, isn't it? It's like when you put your heating on and then boom, you get the eczema flare up again. I'm the same. It's but I started using a vino cream. So I started
Yeah.
using that, and I found that helped. And then yeah, I'm very similar to you, where I don't like tablets, and I don't like sort of quote unquote Western medicine, I guess. Anything that happens to me which goes wrong, I'm straight on the phone to Nani in India, and then she just gives me some desi remedy, and boom, done.
Yes, that is the way.
That is the way, honestly, and like I want things to be sustainable, if that makes sense. So no matter which environment I'm in, like I don't know, next year I could be in, I don't know, South America or something, and I might not have access to like quote unquote Western medicine. I might not have access to tablets or whatever. Then what are you gonna do then? Like if you can find things that are in like the natural environment, then it's way more sustainable. But I think like that with like a lot of things is like, that's why I don't have caffeine and things like that. It's just because if like on a morning I'm not feeling like energy, and then I start like I used to have a lot of caffeine, and that's why I don't have it now, because I realized I start becoming like dependent on things, and I don't want to be dependent on anything. Not anything, like obviously just natural things that will always be like accessible to me. So like I just have more water now, because everywhere in the world you're gonna have water. Do you know what I mean? So that kind of sort of mindset is very much stems off them sort of Eastern remedies, like the desi remedies that you get from like your grandma in India. It's like anything goes wrong, you get a few little spices or herbs together, and then that fixes that problem. Whereas I feel like when you go to the doctor and they give you a pill, it's like, here's a pill, and then here's a pill for the side effects of that pill, and then here's a pill for the side effects of that pill, and then all of a sudden you got so many pills, and if you ever try to go anywhere in the world, you got to take like a suitcase just full of pills just to sort things out. Do you know what I mean? I ain't about that life.
No, I agree with you. Like, the mindset of trying natural things and just believing that is gonna help you, that's the ultimate thing. Because for me, like, I don't understand how can we be given medicine that's gonna give us more side effects, to which we need more medicine. It's just a cycle, it just keeps going on. And yeah, I fully agree with you. Even with caffeine and things like that, like, I never want to rely on anything or feel dependent on, having to use this. And I feel like it's all in your mind, like things like that, not having energy in the day. Like, there's a day where I don't have energy and I've been using caffeine a lot or whatever, which I don't, but in the instance I am, whatever. Then I would stop and I'd start training my mind instead to feel energy and to connect with energy, rather than taking something which is going to make me feel like that, because it is within you. But it's about becoming aware and understanding that, and actually understanding the consequences of doing that and what you're actually suppressing, rather than just keep having it, because that's when it gets worse and worse and harder. But as soon as you just become aware, I can go for 2 weeks maybe feeling a bit tired, let me have some caffeine every single day, every morning, but I can snap out of that as well. And it's, if you can snap out of it, you're fine. That's all, isn't it?
100%. Like, it's the difference between like conscious and subconscious. Like, you don't want to constantly be subconsciously gravitating towards these quick fixes. You want to consciously snap out of it, as you said, and consciously sort of go and fix the root cause of the issue, which I think is really, really important. This has been proper dope though. I've really enjoyed this conversation and learned quite a bit as well at the same time, and had a few laughs, and hopefully you've enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed it. It's good to go back down, memory lane and think about life and talk about it. It's been really good. Yeah.
That's good. But the way that I like to end each podcast is, or round off the podcast, should I say, is the same 5 questions. So this is the same 5 questions that I ask every single guest, and it's sort of in like a quick fire fashion. So just sort of do like the first word or sentence or what's like whatever comes to mind first on these 5 questions. So what are you most proud of?
Most proud of? Probably my weightlifting accomplishment. Most likely, yeah. My weightlifting accomplishments.
Okay. Number 2 is, what are you most looking forward to?
Setting up my life.
Number 3 is
that too... Okay.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Well, it's again, as I say, it's subjective, so it's whatever you think. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is an inclusive space. It's a safe space. You can say whatever you want.
Okay.
Number 3 is, what is your biggest motivation?
Probably self-development, becoming a better version of myself.
What is your definition of success?
I think when you're happy in content, that's success to me. When you're happy with what you want and what you've achieved, and when you've followed your path, so you're content.
And last but not least, because it's the KultureKast podcast, how do you think your culture has affected you this far?
How's my culture affected me? Affected me in what way?
Just how it's impacted you. Has it helped you? Has it hindered you? Have you seen benefits? Have you seen drawbacks? Anything? How's it shaped you?
I've definitely seen benefits. I think benefits, most definitely, because like we were talking about before, there is such a tight-knit community, and I've always felt pretty supported. I've never really had too much of a challenge, and I think that is because the way our community is and the way that our culture is, everyone has each other's back, and it's always been a good support system, I think, for me. So yeah, it's been a good overall experience, and yeah.
So again, like I really enjoyed having you on.
Yeah, literally. But I've really enjoyed being on as well. Like, yeah, it's really nice to talk about things. It's something I've never really done before. So, yeah, it's cool. Thank you for having me on.
No worries. Hopefully we can do like a catch up in the future or something. I will leave your Instagram handle of yourself, Holistic Jungle, in the link. So if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or you're watching on YouTube, just click the link in the description and you'll be able to go to Simran's pages. And you can check out some of the stuff that she's done in more detail, keep up to date with her, and check out some of the things that we've talked about during this podcast as well. So for a bit of context for people. And yeah, do you want to say any last words before we finish?
That's about it, really. Just thank you for having me on. And yeah, I hope that everyone enjoys this podcast. Yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah, sweet, smashed it.